Hello, friends, and welcome to this episode of Filling the Experience Gap. Today's guest is Andrei Angelkovski, who's a realtor friend of mine who I've known for something like 15 years or so. We used to work together. Anyway, welcome, Andrei, and thanks for joining us.
Hey, Greg. How you doing?
I'm great, thank you. So why don't you give us a little background information? What's your name, your position, the company, and the industry you're in?
All right. So I'm Andrei Angelkovski. I'm in the real estate industry as a real estate agent, and I work with Remax Ultimate in the city of Toronto.
Cool. And what's your target area that you work in?
My target area is the Toronto Beaches, Leslieville, Danforth area.
Okay.
That's the area I really enjoy working in. Probably 50% of my business at least is in that area, and the rest of the 50% is throughout the GTA.
Okay, interesting. How is it that you find yourself in the real estate industry?
Well, when I was working for you in Loblaws, I was out of university in 2002. My cousin sat me down and said to me, Andrei, now that you've graduated, I want to introduce you to a book that has influenced him. So he thought it would be a good idea to pass it on to me. And that was The Wealthy Barber. Mm-hmm. So after reading that, I learned about how to save money and how to invest money. And then I got introduced to another book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that sort of changed my mindset on the sort of the interest or the value of real estate and what that can do for you. So once I got introduced to those, I started reading more books, started meeting different people, and actually started investing in real estate myself. So once I started doing that, I was like, okay, I think I've figured out where I want to be. But one of the bigger reasons why I became a real estate agent is because when I was investing in real estate, I went through several different agents that really, I would categorize them as generalists. They weren't specialists focused on a niche sort of category, such as real estate investing. So I had a really hard time finding someone that could help me invest in the best real estate possible. So, after investing in a few properties myself, I thought, what better way to help myself and beyond that is help others invest in real estate is become an agent myself. So that's how I got into the industry.
Cool. And how many years has it been? Was I right? Around 15?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Wow. I'm sure you've seen a lot in 15 years with up markets, down markets, and everything in between.
That yes, but more so when you start interacting with individuals, you start to see different personalities, you start to see different needs, different criteria, different houses, different properties of all kinds of conditions. You go through different experiences, different transactions, issues, learning experiences, tons of lessons. Like, the ups and downs of the market is not even like part of my, I'd say, top 50 list
right.
of experiences. It's more of the day-to-day interactions and how they come together and help you be a better person to guide the next person that you're serving.
Cool. That's interesting because on the outside looking in, there's a tendency, I think, to think that the market is 80% of the equation. Like you just said, for you, it's actually a much smaller part of the equation. That's interesting.
People normally think that 80% of the equation is the real estate market.
Yeah.
I'd say 80% of the conversations out there are about the market and how the ups and downs are going through the ebbs and flows. But what it really comes down to is the other 20%. So people always talk about the market and what's going on, but that's not necessarily what's really going on. And that is all about diving into that specific individual and talking about their true 80%.
Right.
And the rest is the less important stuff.
Yeah. One of the goals of this series is to kind of demystify some of the terminology and acronyms and things that different industries have. I wonder if you can give us some kind of some of the lingo that goes on in the real estate business, either just in real estate itself, or maybe even more specific to real estate investing, if you want to go that way, just to give people a flavor for the kind of language that gets thrown around and what it means.
Some of the lingo that is thrown out there, for example, because I focus a lot on investors, we talk about ROI, so return on investment, and that essentially is, I'll give it. So you put in $100,000 and as a down payment, okay, on a house, and then after all expenses are paid for, you're left with $100, or let's just say $10,000 a year left in your pocket. That's $10,000 of cash flow. So that's another term. But then there's your mortgage that gets paid down. So let's just say that gets paid down another $10,000. And let's just say the market appreciated by another $10,000. So that's in total $30,000 that was sort of given back to you.
Right.
So if you've put in $100,000 and $30,000 was given back to you, then your ROI was 30%.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's year, well, in an individual year. So I suppose from an investment perspective, you're thinking 5 years or 10 years kind of timelines, right?
Right. That was an annual return on investment.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's ROI.
Is that a typical return on investment, or that's just a simple example?
That was a simple example. That was a simple example.
Yeah.
Cash flow is another one. That is essentially if you're renting out an apartment, a condo, or a house, and after paying off your mortgage, after paying off your property taxes, insurance, and all your expenses, and if you're left with positive money, like some money in your pocket, that means you have positive cash flow per month, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So that's the term cash flow. One other one is bully offers. I actually like that one. So a bully. So a bully is someone that, pushes you around, tries to get their way in the schoolyard or anywhere in life. But in real estate, where?
In the office.
Yes, in the office it happens.
Yeah.
So a bully in real estate is, in this heated market that we're in, sellers sometimes decide to put their house up on the market for sale. And then they say, okay, we don't want to look at any offers until 1 week from now. And the purpose of that is to get a lot of activity, a lot of interest, and then on the offer date to get a big bidding war, and then get the inflated price that they were hoping to get. Now, in between that week, within that week, if someone decides, like a buyer decides, you know what, I'm not going to wait until next week. I'm going to bully that person, that seller, and I'm going to put in a bully offer. So a bully offer is essentially submitting an offer before the actual scheduled offer date.
Okay.
So that's what bully offers are. And the purpose of them is that buyer's trying to get in before everyone else to hopefully get the property maybe below what they would maybe be willing to pay for on offer date.
Yeah.
And if that seller accepts it, that means they were probably not even expecting that much on offer date.
Now, is the bully offer usually like a certain range above listing?
No, it all depends on what they believe the market value is.
Okay.
The list price is truly a marketing price. It could be $100,000 below actual market value. It could be $500,000 below. It could be $10,000 below. It all depends on how they've listed it.
Right. Interesting.
So
and what's your experience with bully offers? Like, does it work, or is it usually just piss the seller off, or how does that usually play out? I'm curious.
Actually, before our interview here, I made a call to as representing the buyer, trying to make a bully offer.
Okay.
But the seller's agent said, we're not looking at any bully offers. So the seller specifically instructed their agent to say, we're not considering any bully offers, which means they are only waiting till the offer date.
Yeah.
But that's just one example. There are many examples where bully offers are welcomed. So yes, they do work for a lot of times.
Okay. Interesting.
Hmm.
Such a
Well, another interesting term. This is not, this is, I guess, real estate lingo, but in offers, when we're writing in what's included in the purchase price,
yeah.
One term that we use is ELFs.
Oh yeah.
So ELFs, it's not the little elves that are in the North Pole, but they're ELFs. It's spelled ELFS. It stands for electric light fixtures.
Okay.
So we're basically saying in the offer that all the electric light fixtures in the house are included in this purchase.
Yeah.
But a lot of people say elves. What
Yeah.
do you mean elves?
Well, yeah. What kind of place? What's in the attic? Yeah. That's funny.
So those are just some of the lingo terminologies that are thrown out that I can think of right now.
Yeah. Cool. In terms of the industry as a whole, I mean, everyone's got different ways of measuring success, and probably within the industry, there's industry metrics around days on market or inventory, things like that. As an agent yourself, whether you want to talk about it as a realtor or as an investor, maybe some of the key performance indicators you look at. You mentioned ROI before, but and cash flow. But are there other measurements that you use either to measure your own success or just the success of an investment property in itself?
I'll talk about success measured as a real estate agent, and then I can touch on the success measured for an actual real estate investment property.
Okay.
As an agent, this is probably the topic that I get frustrated about quite often. And people ask, so, how many sales did you make this year? And so if I answer one,
yeah,
I'm a very poor performing agent. But they don't know that one was that $20 million bridle path house that netted me or grossed me a commission of whatever, $500,000.
Yeah.
I don't think, but unfortunately, but if I say I sold 20, but there are 20 leases and they don't know that.
Yeah.
20, well, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You did well, but meanwhile, they're all leases. So I actually grossed $10,000 this year. So quantity means nothing, but unfortunately it's celebrated. You get awards for this.
Yeah.
And every brokerage or every company, real estate company, whether it's Remax, Century 21, Keller Williams, any other company, we all have awards like, you're a platinum club member, or you're 100% club, or you're an executive member, or the diamond award winner.
Yeah.
That all means, you've surpassed a certain commission. Now you could measure that as success, but if I earned $500,000 in 1 year in gross commissions, does that mean I was successful?
Yeah.
In my opinion, absolutely not. But a lot of perception is, yes, that person's successful, but how much did they actually spend that year? Did they spend 500,000 as well? So that means they have zero savings, or did they spend 700,000 and they're negative 200,000 now?
Yeah.
Or did they spend 100,000 and they actually saved $400,000? So when it comes to real estate agents and measuring success, I believe that it comes down to how did you do when it came to setting your own goals? What goals did you set for yourself? Did you pass them? Did you meet them? And are those goals actually your goals? Did you actually set the right goals for yourself?
Yeah.
So this is my version of how to measure success. And so again, it's just my way of thinking. I don't think it's right or wrong, but I don't think that measuring success by how much commission you made is the right way.
Right. It's funny because what's popping in my head is kind of related to what I'm trying to do in my coaching practice, which is, my mentor always talks about coaching as a relationship business. And I think of real estate very much the same way. It's a relationship business. So like success versus quantity of homes sold or bought, or commission earned or whatever. It's more like relationships made, or thriving relationships with people, like that are lots of agents can get a lot of volume, but they're not making any friends per se. Like relationships is kind of low on their list. But when you play this integral role for a family or an individual on their biggest investment of their life, and it's a good, you help them through the trials and tribulations of that. Like it can be quite meaningful for people to have a good, that's, to me, that's the value of a good realtor is a relationship, and taking them through that journey.
Yep.
And I know, you're an upstanding gentleman. So I know you're, for those who maybe don't know Andrei, like Andrei hosted a virtual Christmas party basically for all of his clients and friends. And it was, had a magician. I forget the gentleman's name, but he's quite a famous magician that I remember seeing him on the Penn and Teller show. But it was like probably the most fun virtual experience that I've ever had, was that Christmas party. And it was, that was just Andrei giving back to his client base. So it's good. Kudos to Andrei for building those relationships.
Yeah. And honestly, relationships are key. And that's without even thinking about it. That could be one way of measuring success. And maybe that's a bad way of saying, hey, because I have more friends, I'm more successful. That's not true. I'm trying to say the quality of relationships that you establish, I think, are going to take you a lot farther in life than the amount of commission that you're earning this year.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of how many people are in your database, although people measure success on how many people did you call today? 150, 20? How many quality conversations did you have today? That's my opinion on what's more successful than how many people did you call today.
Yeah.
So you can have 10,000 people in your database, and I can have 100, and I can technically be more successful than you because I know those people very well. They know me very well. There's a trusting relationship there, and we thoroughly enjoy each other's company, professionally and personally.
Right. It kind of segues into the next question about the top skills required to be successful in your industry. Relationship building, we just touched on. What other skills are there?
I believe you have to be motivated. I don't know if that,
like self-motivated.
Definitely self-motivated, because you are technically your own boss. Right. So you're not going into work 9 to 5 every day. You don't have to punch in, punch out. You don't have to take an hour lunch. You don't have a manager and then a director and then a VP and then the CEO and then so forth. You don't have to ask for vacation, and you don't have to ask to take days off. So when you have that sort of flexibility, it's really difficult to stay self-motivated. Like you are tempted to just sleep in. You're tempted to go to bed whenever you want. You're tempted to just sit and watch TV. Hey, what? Especially during this pandemic. Yeah. Imagine that. Like you have to stay home. Thank you.
Yeah.
Where's the fridge?
Yeah.
Like it's. I know I don't want to sound like it's. I'm trying to make things a little odd here, but it's true. It's very difficult to stay self-motivated. So that's one skill that you definitely should have.
Yeah.
And when it comes to having relationships, of course, being a people person, being able to listen to people and communicate with them clearly and professionally is so key. Because with these devices nowadays, everything is done electronically, and if you do not know how to communicate electronically, things could get misunderstood and relayed incorrectly, especially with autocorrect, you say
Right.
something, if you say the absolute opposite, and you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So
That's where you
those are,
need the unsend button. Unsend, unsend.
you know, and one thing that actually I believe is very important when it comes to listening is one of the most influential people that you and I think, are inspired by is Stephen Covey.
Yeah.
And one of his rules is seek first to understand, then be understood.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Is that one of his rules?
Habit 5.
Habit 5. I believe if you're in front of a client, whether they are a seller or a buyer, don't just assume you know what they want or you know what's right for them. Truly listen to them. Try to understand them. Put yourself in their shoes. And it's that simple, but it's actually harder than it sounds.
Yeah. It's
And
funny you say that because I mean, for those who don't know on the call, I had a stint as a realtor myself in 2008. And I found when I was showing people properties and they're asking your opinion, like, what do you think or whatever? And you're like, well, this may or may not be a house that I would ever buy, or I found it difficult to kind of like separate your own opinion of what you would buy or why you would buy it or what you'd be willing to spend or the neighborhood or whatever, because it's really like you're representing the client is, so you really have to understand, like you said, what is it that the client needs and wants and likes, and it's got nothing to do with you as a realtor. So
yeah. I don't know if this is a skill, but it's something that I think is very important, and it kind of it's filling the gap, like your whole theme is here. So one thing I believe is very important in this industry, I realized very, very early on. So when I was 27 years old is when I first started. At that young age, I asked myself, why would anyone, and I'm brand new to this industry, why would anyone choose me or use me and hire me to help them buy their most expensive and largest investment that they'll ever make in their life? Who am I? Why would someone use me?
yeah.
And that the same applies to your theme, filling the experience, filling the gap of experience. Well, how do you get that experience? Like, you have to get it somehow. How I found it to be beneficial for me is I actually got my experience by buying my first 3 properties before I became a real estate agent.
Mm.
So that helped because I actually walked the talk, and people knew that about me. And I've already been doing it for 3 years prior to actually becoming a real estate agent.
Right.
So by me having that experience, I was able to help other people as well.
Yeah.
So how do you, so maybe you go buy your own home first. Maybe you go rent your own home first. Maybe you buy an investment property first. Maybe you shadow someone or you work with someone first prior to saying, hey, you know what, let me just, can you be my guinea pig? I just want to just,
Yeah.
try myself, just start off on you, Greg, want to go sell your house with me?
Yeah.
So
Interesting. Maybe one thing that occurred to me when you're talking about being self-motivated and being your own boss, I'm not sure people really understand kind of the business structure within the industry in terms of the broker and the agents that work with that broker. That it's, I remember when I joined the industry, it was like a complete reversal of the normal job interview process, because, you're going to meet brokers, but you're interviewing them to go work for them versus them interviewing you like as if you're an employee. And then all your colleagues are your colleagues as well as your competitors. So I don't know if you can maybe explain that a little bit and what that's been like for you.
yeah, when I first was looking for a brokerage, I interviewed 3 different brokerages: Keller Williams, Century 21, and Remax. I ended up choosing Remax, primarily because the agent that I was using, who I really enjoyed using, was in that brokerage. So when you're going there, people, yes, I guess it is the exact opposite of you going looking for a job. You as an agent are now interviewing the broker of record or the owner to see, okay, why should I work with or for them?
Mhm.
And you want to see what their training, what training they offer. Do they have any sort of special training, or do they offer leads? Do they offer office space, boardrooms? What's the benefit of you joining them? Because essentially, part of your commission is going to go to them.
Right.
And when you need help, who do you have access to? So there's a lot of discount brokerages who are all virtual, who have no space, and their fees are very low, but you have no place to go. You have no one to really call. You have no support system. You are truly alone.
Right.
So you want to, so there are, yeah, and the colleagues. So that broker of record you might be interviewing says, yeah, well, we have 250 agents in our office. You have all of them for support. You have, do I really, or am I going to be up against them?
Yeah.
Because unless you are part of a real team, meaning you are truly splitting your commission 50-50 with someone, or a certain split with someone, you are working together as a team.
Yeah.
Everyone else, all the other agents are essentially, I don't want to say your competitors, but hey, you're all going for that one seller.
Yeah.
You're not going to say, okay, yeah, go ahead, have them. You have them this time. I'll take the next guy next time.
Yeah.
Because there's over 50,000 agents in the GTA. Who's, there's too many of them.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, it's too easy to get your license nowadays. And there's an interesting stat that I read, and it was, so this interesting stat that I read was from the Toronto Real Estate Board 2020, the year 2020 statistics. The number of registered agents was 58,000.
Wow.
20,000 of those agents did 0 deals in 2020.
Wow.
25, close to 26,000 of those agents did between 1 and 5 deals. So that alone is 46,000 agents out of the 58 did between 0 and 5 deals, essentially.
Yeah.
6,600 agents did between 6 and 10 deals. 2,600 agents did between 11 and 15 deals. Almost 1,800 agents did between 16 and 25 deals. 791 agents did between 26 and 50 deals. 163 agents did between 51 and 84 deals, and 100 agents did 85 plus deals. So 80% at least of the agents out there did essentially nothing.
Yeah.
So that tells me that there's 80% of the agents out there, they're either doing this part-time, or they shouldn't even have their license. They're maybe carrying their license.
Yeah.
And 15% of the agents out there are doing majority of the deals,
Yeah.
all the other deals.
It's funny you say that, and kind of related back to like, why would somebody hire me comment? Well, like when I left, people ask me all the time, oh, why didn't you keep your license and do it part-time? And I'd say, well, I wouldn't hire somebody who was doing it part-time. So how would I have the balls to ask somebody to hire me if I wasn't doing it full-time? So yeah, that was kind of my own way of thinking about it, was that if I wouldn't hire myself, why would I expect anyone else to hire me?
Yeah.
And it's not cheap. I mean, that's the other thing people don't realize, between all the fees you have to pay for. Maybe you can talk about that too, a little bit about this. It's kind of like, I think of it as kind of a mirror of like the way the government's set up with federal, provincial, municipal governments. It's like the real estate industry is kind of set up in a similar way.
Yeah, there's several fees involved. I don't know the 100% what all of them are to give you an exact number, but I do remember when I hired my licensed assistant, my assistant first, then I paid to get her licensed.
Right.
And I remember it cost me, in 1 year, it cost me, I think, $6,600 for her to get her license.
Yeah.
And it meant that she wasn't even doing any deals. Like she was just a licensed assistant.
Yeah.
So if you were to do nothing, it would probably cost you around that amount.
Yeah.
Just to kind of have your license.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So it's not cheap. And then every deal that you do, I guess there's a portion of your commission that goes towards that. And then there's also your marketing and a whole other whack of stuff that you start paying for.
Yeah.
Pay to go to work, by the way.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing people don't, I don't want to say they don't care, but they don't really realize that, you know, you don't earn a salary. Like your entire 100% of what you earn is based on closing deals.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
So
right.
it's, anyway, I don't want to bore people with my sob story of all my failed deals where you end up working for free. But anyway, if somebody's thinking about getting into the industry, I mean, you already alluded to like shadowing people or learning about stuff, investing. What is your best advice you would give somebody who's thinking about getting into real estate, either as a realtor or as an investor?
As both, I would say the number one advice that I have is hire a coach. And that's the best thing I ever did. And I did it 3 years after I started my first real coach. Now, I don't mean a coach meaning your broker of record or your owner is, you know, helping you by, you know, meeting up with you once a month or once every 2 weeks just to see how things are going. That I'm not talking about that type of coach. I'm talking about you hiring a coach, paying the money. They are not emotionally or financially invested in your outcomes. So I believe the coach has to be arm's length. They have to like be non-invested in whatever your outcomes are. So you have to be careful because there's a lot of great coaches out there, but there's many, many, many more unqualified coaches out there. So I've hired in my career, I think at least 5 coaches. They were all very different. You know, you're coaching, Greg.
Yeah.
So when someone, like I remember when we were at Loblaws, you changed. You were a huge influence. Like you brought our department together weekly, I believe it was, and you indirectly were coaching us.
Yeah.
But it's like nothing I've ever seen before. When you go in a corporation or the corporate world, people are like, yeah, so did you get that TPS report done? It's like hold on. No, Greg Fisher brought us together and he started opening us up. He started asking us questions that were more personal based, not work related. You know, so what do you enjoy doing? What's your favorite foods? What's your favorite songs? What is the thing that you love most about doing? He was seeking to understand first and then see what motivates us and for us to actually be more productive and actually enjoy our jobs. That's what I got out of you, Greg. Yeah. You were phenomenal at coaching us. So I applaud you for that. Some other coaches that I've worked with, some great ones, Philip McKernan, Oliver Menelese, Ben Osterveld. So those are a few that I would say that were big influences on myself. I actually went to, my first coach was in 2009. I hired them. I interviewed 6 coaches and for some reason, I hired this guy. His name was Philip McKernan. And I was like, there's other coaches that are charging $35,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And Philip McKernan was not at $35,000 a year at that point. I was like, that person that's charging $35,000 a year, she actually coached Olympians and stuff like that. I was like, this girl can probably get me to the top of the world, on top of the podium. That's where, you know, I was like sort of promised that I'd be. And I was like, why wouldn't I hire her? Well, for one thing, $35,000 a year was probably a little bit out of my budget. Yeah. That's the main reason. But there was also another part that pulled me towards this gentleman, Philip, who I said to him, he said to me, what do you want to get out of this? When we're done in 1 year, what do you want to get out of this? I was like, okay, so I want to get 35 properties. I hired him to help me as an investor, not as an agent.
Yeah.
And throughout the coaching, the first 6 months of coaching, he said to me, he goes, Andrei, I'm still not understanding why in the world you want 35 properties. It does not make sense. And I'm seriously trying to understand it from your point of view. He goes, I don't think you need help in that category of your life.
Yeah.
I think you need help right here.
Yeah.
And he goes, you're doing fine as an agent. You're doing fine. If not, you're actually pushing yourself. You're going to get sick if you keep pushing and trying to get all these properties. What are you doing? And I'm putting it in the Cole's Notes version. This is
Sure.
like 6 months down the road.
Yeah.
And that was the moment that things just turned around for me. I went from owning, I think it was 11 properties to selling them down to owning only 3. That was the moment that I started focusing on my real estate agent business more than my investing business. That's when things turned around and I started working on myself, the inside out.
Yeah.
That was the time that I started learning more about myself, who I am, how I respond to things, what were things that were holding me back. It was not, hey, how do I learn to become a people person? How do I learn to listen, like listening skills, interpersonal, nothing to do with that, Greg.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to describe what you learn with certain coaches, but this one particular coach, Philip, he's one of a kind, and he brought out, he sees through your soul. And just, anyways, it's hiring a coach is what I believe was the number one thing I did for myself.
Yeah.
And I believe it will hold you accountable. I believe it will help guide you in the right direction. Because if you're going in one direction, but it's the wrong direction, how are you ever going to know, that you need to sort of shift?
Yeah.
Maybe you need some guidance. And but remember, not every coach is the right coach. So you have to find the right coach, interview them. And if you don't know who the right coach is, sometimes you need to figure that out. Maybe get someone to help you find who the right coach is.
Yeah.
So that's my number one best advice for someone starting off, or not even starting off, even someone who's well advanced in this business.
Yeah. Yeah. And just in general, I mean, it's not specific to the real estate business either, right? Just in life.
Yeah.
It's very good. Yeah, I appreciate everything you said about, I mean, this is why I've gotten into coaching, is because truthfully, like, I've been coaching people for 20 years. Just, I never would have necessarily called it that, but that was a big part of what I did in my career, and probably the part of my career that gave me the most personal fulfillment. So that's why I'm actively pursuing that right now. So
And that's what I like about you, is that you're good. I don't want to say that's the only way you're a good coach, but you're a good coach because you love it.
Mm-hmm.
You thoroughly love doing that, and that brought you joy. That brought you life. Whenever you were coaching me or our colleagues, our employees, like, you were doing such a great job.
It's a lot more fun than selling cereal.
Oh man, but I'm sure you know this too, Greg. There's a lot of coaches out there that are just not in the right business.
Yeah.
And that's that statement I just made applies for any career. Like, there's agents out there who are in this business that shouldn't be in this business, and same applies for any other industry out there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think a lot of the statistics you went over in terms of percentage of people that are successful, or that's a kind of a microcosm of that whole statement, that 50% of people in most businesses probably have no business being in that business, but they're just there for whatever, however it is they got there. But that's part of people's life and journey, and finding where you fit and where your passions lie. So seeing that we're just coming out of the pandemic, and I mean, you mentioned it, that during lockdowns, like, it's being a realtor, you're out in the market, you're looking at properties, and all of a sudden, boom, everything's shut down. Is there anything that's come out of the pandemic in terms of new ways of doing business that is like a breakthrough? Like the example I use a lot that I enjoyed, and I hope sticks around, is like dealing with the doctor's office, right? Like, now I don't have to go and sit in a waiting room for 45 minutes, then go in and whatever. Like, I can phone the doctor, leave a voicemail, or send them a text, or send them a picture of, like, a cut on my finger, and they can tell me, what I need to do. And it just saves so much time. Like, requisitions are emailed. So I know since I was in the real estate industry when everything was like faxes and paper, I know there's been a lot of stuff even pre-pandemic that's become electronic. Was there anything specific you can think of in the pandemic that you hope sticks around?
Yes. A lot of things have become virtual. So time has become much more efficient, and I've been more productive. So before, when we used to put together offers, I did not do virtual offers until the pandemic started, because I felt like that human connection was more relevant and more important. So I would go drive to my client's house. I would prepare everything for them. We would sign everything, fill out everything, and then I would go present the offer. Or I'd go to my office, fax it, or scan it through, but normally I would present it in person. Now, I don't have to drive to, for example, Durham, or I don't have to drive to Peel or Mississauga or North, or and fight through traffic just to have someone sign an offer.
Yeah.
I just email it to them, and within minutes, it's back to me fully signed. That is, you want to talk about time efficiency? Like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
But it was always there for us before that, but we just chose not to use it. Other efficiencies was virtual showings. Whenever I have a lease up for rent, a house up for rent, I didn't do this before, and I don't know why, because it's such a great idea, but I now create a walkthrough video of the apartment thoroughly, and I talk about it, and now I upload them to YouTube. And when someone inquires about the property, I send them that walkthrough video. I send them the floor plans. I send them the features. I send them all the information. I say, after you view this, if you still are interested, let me know, and then we'll go book a showing.
Yeah.
At least 90% of the people say, oh, I didn't realize XYZ. Oh, I didn't realize this, or it was a basement. I didn't realize it was that short, or that small, or that large, or that old.
Yeah.
And I just saved myself hours upon hours, not wasting my time to show that person that apartment.
Yeah.
So I'm talking like, whew, amazing, like time saving.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I don't believe, and that's still, even to your comment on, having doctors virtually and stuff like that, the human touch, I believe, will always be relevant, will always be needed. Being belly to belly with someone is always going to be preferred versus over the screen, like what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Like, if I was beside you right now, I'd tap you on the shoulder, I'd give you like a nice big hug.
Yeah.
But like, it's different. And are we going to be able to sell things virtually? I have, not many, but I have. But you still need to show the place. They still need to walk in, smell that air in that house.
Yeah.
Smell it, feel it, look around. How does it make you feel seeing those cathedral ceilings, seeing those big windows, the stained glass windows, or smelling that air? Is it stale? Is it fresh? Is it new? Is that fresh painted smell? Is that carpet smells? That hardwood smells? That cedar smell? You need to go in there and feel it, because that's how people buy houses. They feel them. And It's not just, let me click here. Yeah, let me choose that leather, that steering wheel, that type of tires. No, houses are not like that, especially the resale houses. Brand new houses, okay, fine. Maybe you can pick and choose your ingredients there, but
Yeah.
it's so different. And yes, I believe this is a temporary thing, but I believe the efficiencies that we've developed through this pandemic will still be continued. At least I hope they will, like a lot of virtual tours and
Yeah.
maybe even virtual signings. Those are, I think, very efficient.
Yeah.
But when it comes to buying and selling, you have to, I still feel like you need to go there physically, feel the property, make sure it feels right inside you.
Yeah.
Make that decision.
That's good advice. I'm curious, like, what is your favorite or best real estate or real estate investing story? Like the one that when you think about it, it just reinvigorates your passion for what it is that you do. Like, is there one experience or story that pops to mind that you'd like to share?
The one that lingered in my mind right now when you were just saying this is, I'll name you, I'll say two of them. One, the one that was the main thing that came into my mind is I have, again, I work with several investors. And this one investor that I'm referring to, she was my client from 2007, I believe. She purchased with me about 7 properties, investment properties in Toronto, within a time frame of about 3 years.
Mm.
And within 5 or 7 years from when we first met, her and I had a sit down and chatted, and she was a bit stressed out. She's like, Andre, I don't know if I kind of want to like leave my job. I don't know what to do. Like I don't know if I'll have enough money to do this or what. Like she was just stressing out for financial reasons.
Right.
And then I sat down with her. I said, look, here is what you currently own. Okay. Property 1 through 7. You bought it for this. It's worth this now. We went through all of them, and I looked up at her. I said, do you understand this is your net worth is $7 million right now?
Mm.
And this has nothing to do with your savings or anything else, just with these properties right now. If you were to sell them today, you would have $7 million.
Yeah.
This is within 5 or 7 years after she started doing this. So that moment right there made me so happy. I was like, she was stressing out for financial reasons. And then I just,
and she's a millionaire.
she's a multimillionaire. And I helped her get there. And I'm not patting myself on the shoulder or anything, but
Yeah.
that made me feel good that I was able to help investors buy properly with the right strategy and achieve a net worth that they couldn't even imagine when they first started.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the stories.
Yeah.
The other story that just happened recently was during the pandemic. I have a client who bought an investment property March of 2020, when the pandemic literally just started.
Yeah, 2020. Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh crap, Andre! Like I don't even know what to do. Like his wife just got laid off. He was like, okay, I'm not laid off, but we're having a hard time qualifying for this property because of my wife just got laid off. So
Yeah.
I have to go with a B lender, which is a little bit higher interest rate and not that great terms. So we'll only go with this B lender for 1 year, and then we'll refinance next year.
Yeah.
Hopefully a lender if everything goes well." They bought this property. One year later, which happened just a few months ago, they refinanced. So meaning they were trying to go with a better lender at better terms, meaning a lower interest rate. They got it reappraised at $450,000 more than what they bought it for. And they didn't do a single damn thing to the house.
Yeah.
And this was an investment property, meaning they just made $450,000 for doing nothing but having the balls, the courage to go and buy during a pandemic.
Risk reward right there.
That was like, I was even saying, I wish I bought it with you. But those are moments that make me realize that helping others and seeing the achievement of others is the reward itself. It makes me happy. It makes me want to get up in the morning and do more of this stuff. And it makes me happy because they're not just a client, they're a friend. That we talk, we hang out. Our families know each other. So it's one of those things that just makes everything just come together and click and makes it all right.
It's awesome. Well, it's a great example of the possibilities in real estate, right? Like, where else can you make almost $500,000 in 1 year? Not too many places.
No, but one thing I do know is that when people do hear about that story, they'll say, "Oh, I'll sign up." But they don't have the courage to pull the trigger and take action. They're like, "Oh, but can't I just buy something?" Like they're looking for unrealistic things. Whereas the reality is that, hey, when everyone was backing off in March of last year, these people stepped up to the plate. Mind you, it was probably not their intention. They didn't really know what they were getting into because everything was up in the air. No one really knew what was going on. But still, they had the courage to do so. And could have it burned them in the end? Maybe. But again, they weren't doing this for the short term anyway. Most investors that I work with are long-term investors. They do this for the next 10, 15, 20 years. So if there are any ups and downs throughout the way, which there will be, they're not directly impacted.
So Andrei, the next question is about, do you have examples of industry-specific interview questions that you use when hiring in your industry or when people are hiring agents? Just curious what you find in terms of interview questions.
I do have experience with hiring licensed assistants or even just unlicensed assistants. What I typically ask them are 3 questions, and that's in my job description. So in my ad, when I have an ad out for a job position, I ask them this. So at first I say, if you want an interview, you will not get an interview if you do not answer these questions below. So when people just send me a resume and just apply that way, with not answering, I don't even look at it, because that means they didn't even read my description, my job description. And my 3 questions are this: why did you apply for this job? That's probably the most important question. Why did you apply for this job? Is it because you're desperate, you need money, why did you apply for it? And that will tell me probably 80 to 90% of what I need to know. Second question is, please review our website. For my sake, it was my website. Like, some people might say, please review our company policy or company. I say, please review our website, beachinvesting.com, and tell us how you feel about being part of this company. And then the third question we ask is, why do you like working in the field of real estate? And when I was looking for an assistant, literally, if I got 100 to 200 inquiries, maybe a handful of them answered those questions. Made my job a lot easier. I was able to just, no. Oh, there's someone who answered them. And some of the answers were not what I wanted, but some of them, like the odd 1 or 2, were like, okay, so now I'm actually excited to speak to this person. So I don't know. I got this idea from another coach of mine, Ben Osterveld. He gave me these sort of ideas. I also got some great ideas from your videos that you do, Greg, because you have a course that teaches this on this topic, preparing for interview questions.
Yeah.
So I find that all of these to be good preparation. But if you're on the opposite end, if you're the interviewer, then you need to know sort of some ideas and maybe some strategies on how to best approach it.
Yeah. One last thing, I wanted to give you an opportunity to plug your book, because I know you have a book that you promote on your website and I think through Amazon. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to talk about your book a little bit, because I know it's a lot of time and effort goes into creating such a thing.
Sure. Thank you. My book, One and Done. You can find it on Amazon, or you can find it on my website, beachinvesting.com. You can download it from my website. It is free on my website. On Amazon, there is a fee to it. It talks about, in order to achieve financial freedom, all you need is one investment property, one, and you're done, the right one. And in that book, I explain how it all works, what you need. I do create a lot of videos as well, and these videos are all educational. They're not sales videos, and this, by all means, if I wanted to make money off this, I would charge more money, but it's not about that. It's about me trying to share in my experience, my clients' experiences, to help educate others to do the same, or to find what works for them. There's no one answer that will meet all people's needs. There's millions of different answers of how things can work. I find that this works well for me and many of my clients. It's simple, but it does require some courage. It does require work. People believe that, hey, you know what, I don't want to do work. Well, then, this is not for you. Yeah. That's one thing I have learned is, everything in life, if there's a reward at the end, it's gonna take some work. We're not looking to win the lottery. We are trying to achieve a financial goal, and primarily it's to either secure our family nest egg, or it's to have our children financially better off in the future. But it's also to establish some sort of generational wealth that we can pass on to our next generation, and to live comfortably and not have to rely on a company pension or on your director maybe letting you go, and because you did not perform well, or because you cannot come into work because of some undue consequences with your family health or something. You want to take control of your own financial finances, and by doing so, I believe you will do well in the financial world. Everything else, your health, your wealth, your well-being, you have to own up to that. Hire a coach will help guide you to get there. So anything that you do, whether it's buying a property or hiring a coach or finding a job, finding the right one is the right way to do it. And how do you find the right job? How do you find the right career path? How do you find the right property? That's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
But surround yourself with the right people, get the conversation going, speak to people such as Greg, who will guide you maybe in the right step forward.
Well, this has been an awesome experience with you. I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Me too.
Thank you so much for your time and your expertise and sharing it with the world. And look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it very much as well.
All right. Thanks, Andrei.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.